What's up guys, CoreNerd here, and today we're going to be talking about the Surface with Windows RT, which is Microsoft's newest tablet that they made, pretty much the manufacturer made for Microsoft, and this is Microsoft exclusive. So Microsoft released this along with the release of Windows 8 on Friday, and now people can go ahead and just buy this without having to pre-order. So, should you buy this? That's the real question. It is very interesting. So before we start off, I'd like to talk about the specs, the operating system, and we'll go further on. So first of all, as far as the specs are concerned, it has a 10.6-inch screen, which is a ClearType HD display, which ClearType is cool. It's a cool little effect that'll make everything appear to be better. It has two options of storage. It has a 32 gigabyte space as well as 64 gigabytes. And that's a pretty good deal coming from $500. You only get a 16 gigabyte iPad. But, however, it also features a quad-core processor, which is the NVIDIA Tegra 3. And again, it's the Tegra 3. It should be pretty decent for what it does. It has 2 gigabytes of RAM, which is random access memory. That's pretty good. It has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 4.0, obviously. Its battery life, I've heard, was pretty decent. It has two 720p HD, they call it life cams, which is really just webcams up in front. It's kind of a marketing term that they've used. Two microphones, probably for the front and the back. And it actually features, now this is surprising, two USB ports, I believe. So yeah, full-size USB 2, it might be only one port. It has a micro SD card slot, so that's pretty nice. You can have expandability, so you're not just limited by 32 or 64 gigabytes of space. It also has an accelerometer, a gyroscope, a compass, and the ambient light sensor, which is kind of standard. It also basically has the Windows apps, which is also very interesting, where they have Microsoft Office Home installed on these computers. They're kind of tablets, but basically with that, you have Office, but it's on the desktop, and it's not good for touch. It's hardly good for touch. It's really good for desktop mode, as it points out, desktop. You cannot go into Metro mode and use Word, period. You just can't, unless you go to Internet Explorer and use the online version of Word. So that's inconsistency, and I think that's really stupid, because Microsoft wants people to use their interface. Why not get rid of the desktop? And let's talk about why not get rid of the desktop. I mean, why get rid of the desktop? First of all, with the release of Windows 8 RT, or just Windows RT for the operating system, you're using an NVIDIA processor. And not to get too technical, but this is a technical channel, it will not work with any of the other processors, including Intel and AMD, because it's a different processor. It's a different architecture it was designed for. You can run ARM on you can run ARM processors on Windows RT, and you can run NVIDIA Tegra 3s, which are quad-core processors. ARM are usually dual-core. So, you cannot run older Windows applications on this device. Forget about running your old version of Word if you like the old version. Forget about running, I don't know, all your favorite games if you wanted to run a game. Not that this thing would actually be decent at it, which we'll talk about in a second. You can forget about pretty much anything that you used to be able to use with Windows. This is a new form of thinking. Think about it as a new operating system. Think about it as a new competitor in the tablet industry. With that being said, that's why they should get rid of desktop mode, because you're not going to be using any applications unless they are developed for desktop mode. And at that point, you'd ask yourself, why would they do that? Because they're trying to have this new start menu with the Metro apps, or, new UI apps, and yeah. So, basically, this device is a new, think of it as a new competitor to the tablet industry. However, this thing lacks the proper apps. They don't have as many apps as either Android or iOS has. It is really a newbie in the tablet industry. Excuse me. So, with that being said, again, it is a nice idea, but they need to have the developers. And as Steve Ballmer has said, developers, they need to have more developers developing apps for this ARM version or NVIDIA Tegra version. So, again, you need to have different apps, and I don't know how Windows RT is going to work between the NVIDIA and the ARM. Who knows if a person develops an app for the NVIDIA, it should work for the ARM, hopefully. You would think that would work that way because obviously Android apps work on both ARM processors and the NVIDIA Tegra, so that shouldn't be an issue. However, app developers are now going to have to develop specific applications for Windows 8 RT and for Windows 8 in general. So why bother having the desktop there? Why do we need the desktop if you're trying to be a new industry? Forget the desktop. Maybe it's because you have that trackpad there, you want to use your mouse. I get it, but seriously get rid of the desktop if you really want to push this. That's just my opinion. So, also, I want to talk about the actual performance because people have had this and they have had a chance to review it. I myself don't figure spending $500 or $600 on this. The speed of it is overall okay. It's nothing great. In fact, it's not that snappy. You lose frames with all the pictures and the live tiles and whatever. You actually lose frames. I can link you guys to some videos and reviews. You lose frames. Somebody tried to launch, I believe it was Cut the Rope, which is a very, very minimalistic game. They couldn't use it. It wouldn't run. Now, that doesn't mean that there won't be updates that will fix this, and I guarantee you there will be, because a quad-core processor should be able to handle it fine. Cut the Rope is very minimalistic. However, they have lack of app developers. They don't have many app developers developing for Windows 8. Give them time. I bet they will have it. But they also, it's the form factor too. A lot of people are complaining that it's actually harder to hold it in portrait mode than it is to hold it in landscape. So that would be interesting as well, to see if people can get used to this idea of the way you hold it, the way it snaps onto the keyboard. Not to say that this isn't a cool device for the new market, but they just have lack of developers. And that's just my opinion again. Lack of developers for this will actually make this fail. If you don't have enough developers because it won't run any of the old desktop apps, or Windows 7 or anything, you need to have the developers. And this is kind of a risky device to buy. There's also a risk because you're not going to have this bought by enterprise, period. You can't join this to a Windows domain controller, I should say, and you're pretty much screwed because you can't connect. This is not good for networking whatsoever. So do not, whatever you do, if you're a school in an industry, if you're watching this video, I seriously doubt you are, but if you are watching this, do not purchase this because this will not be good in an enterprise situation. It's not good for monitoring. It's not good for that. It's a consumer tablet, sort of. More like a tablet/netbook. So, again, it's cool because it's cool with the design, but I've heard there are so much performance issues, you're going to have to wait till they update this. So, it's cool with the specs. Theoretically, it should be running fine, but there are issues. And with the lack of developers right now for this platform, I don't see it taking off. However, again, with that being said, let's take a look at something different. Surface with Windows 8 Pro. This is coming soon. This, and let's actually take the specs page here. Look at this. Let's take a look at with Windows 8 Pro and see what the specs are for it. Again, very similar specs, except look at your display. It's 1920 by 1080. Very nice. Very, very nice. Again, comes in 64 gigabyte options and 128 gigs. So we know one thing. This is going to be priced a lot more than the Surface with Windows RT. It's just guaranteed. They have 64 gigs and 128 gigs. You know it's going to be more because the other one, if we actually go back to Windows RT, specifications, you only have 32 gigabyte and 64 gigabyte. So at the least, it's going to cost over $600. So let's also take a look more at the specs here. It comes with a third generation Intel Core i5 processor with HD Graphics 4000, so it's pretty decent. You have an i5 processor and HD 4000 graphics, which is decent. You have a full-size USB 3.0 port. The other one only had USB 2. And that's pretty much it with the specs here. Nothing really. Your battery's going to last much longer. Hopefully. Maybe it won't because it is an i5. Now, one thing with this. This is what you should buy. This tablet has an i5 processor, which is Intel. Intel i5 processors obviously are cross-compatible with the older applications. This tablet would make more sense with the desktop mode, although I don't like the desktop mode if that's what they're aiming for. This tablet's going to be expensive, though. It's going to perform very well. That's my guess, at least. And let's see if it has a 1080p. Nope, it still has a 720p. So the specs aren't that different, other than obviously the big thing, which would be the processor, the i5 processor, the 64 gigabytes of storage, and yeah, how much RAM does this have? Does it even say? 4 gigs of RAM. Okay, so this is going to be expensive. This might start off at $799. That would be my guess. If it's good. I mean, that's a good price for this. People need to understand that with this version, it comes with a full Windows 8 Pro. You don't have any restrictions. It will run current Windows 7 desktop applications and integrate your existing enterprise management infrastructure. In other words, it can join to a domain and work with the network. So if you are somebody in the business world, this is the tablet that you want, which is not out yet. Do not make the mistake of purchasing the Windows RT unless you're a consumer, and even if you are a consumer, you really should consider purchasing the Pro and waiting and saving your money, if you want that Windows experience. So, yeah, I mean, as far as these two models go, if you are a consumer and you don't really care and you're excited about Windows RT, you think that's going to work out for you, then you should go ahead and do it. But I can tell you there are performance issues right now, and I think you need to wait till they upgrade it. Or, update the operating system. Probably to maybe even Service Pack 1 if they have that by any time soon, which I doubt, but they'll fix a lot of the bugs. So, if you are desperate for a Windows tablet, then get the RT. But it's not going to go far because there are not many developers, and I've heard performance is not that good right now. It's kind of bad, right? So, and if you really, really want the keyboard, it's going to cost you an extra $100. Whereas the Surface with Windows 8 Pro, I really hope, I doubt it, but they actually will come with a keyboard. So that's what I hope for. And what's interesting, it actually comes with pen input and pen. So that actually is not shown here, I don't think. And that comes with your purchase. So that's really cool. You can actually use a pen input with this. So it's more for business. But again, you're not going to be able to run your Windows apps. So that's pretty much my thought about it. If you should go ahead and purchase this, it's really your own risk with Windows RT, and it's not, in my opinion, you should go ahead and buy an iPad at that point for that price, or you should look, if you're looking for a cheaper tablet, I would actually recommend the Nexus 7. That would be a good tablet, not the iPad mini. $330 is way too much, but anyways, I digress, guys. And this is pretty much my input. I believe that the Surface with Windows 8 Pro is worth the money, but with Windows RT, it's just, quite frankly, not at this point. I want to see a price reduction for Windows RT, and I want to see more developers coming in to support this platform. Yes, it's cool, but I think they need to work out the bugs. Thank you guys for watching this video. Definitely comment, rate, and subscribe.